Good Shabbos, everybody. Um, I want you to see what these things have in common. There's a bunch of different things that are alluded to in this week's Torah portion, and I want you to tell me if you think you see something, a theme that runs through them. So these are a lot of laws that tell us what we should and shouldn't do. For example, if you happen to see a donkey or an ox that has a big load on it and it's fallen down, you can't just stand there. You have to help it get back up. It seems kind of obvious, but what are they trying to tell us? Is it to be nice to animals? Is it to be involved in the world around you? Is it to help out commerce because it's carrying something for someone's livelihood? You have to help them up. You have to help it keep going. But there's a lot of other ones. If you build a roof, you have to put a wall around the top of the roof to prevent someone from falling off who might be there. That's an interesting one. There are other things about if someone gets married, you can't draft them into the army for a whole year. They have to take care of their wife first. Maybe there's some things that are more important than going into the army, some bigger deals, whatever those are. Remember I said that clothing was a very expensive commodity. And so if there is someone who needs, who maybe has like an outer, people would have like an inner clothing and an outer clothing. Then the outer clothing was kind of like a blanket or a poncho kind of a thing. You can't take that from a widow as a loan or as collateral. You're not allowed to do that. It belongs to them. Similarly, another thing that people would use for their livelihood is a big round stone, with a hole in it. They call it a millstone. It's the upper millstone. When you eat something like wheat has a very hard shell on it. It's kind of like a thin little nut. It's like a peanut with a really hard shell on it. You have to crack that shell, and one way you do it is you stick it in between two rocks and you turn the top rock. That's a millstone or an upper millstone. And it says that even though those are valuable because they're carved stones, you cannot take that as collateral for a loan, because taking someone's millstone is equivalent to taking their life. You can't take away their livelihood. Are you noticing anything similar between all of these? If you make a loan to somebody and you see that the money is there and they owe it to you, you look in the window and you see it's in their house, you can't go into their house and take your money. You have to wait for them to come out and give it to you, even though they owe it to you. Don't abuse a laborer. You can't make things too harsh for them. You have to pay them the same day. Am I starting to get some things that are running a similar thread through all of these? If you own a vineyard or you own a field of grain, anybody can walk into it and can eat those grapes or can take out some grain. They cannot bring a bag with them. They can't bring something to carry, and they can't bring a tool. Whatever they can pick with their hands and carry out, they're able to have. There's a few more which are fascinating. I guess I'll mention them just so that I could say it's sort of been kind of complete. You need to have fair weights, not two different ones for buying and selling. You can't muzzle an ox. I love this one. You can't put something on it. If the ox is doing your work in your field to help you, no, the ox is there to help you crack those little grains, but the ox wants to eat them. You cannot put a muzzle on them. You have to let the ox eat those grains, which is counterproductive. But there's some reason some reason why you can't do that. I think that the thing that's in common is you're no better than anybody else. Excuse me, you're important, but you're no better than anybody else. And you need to think of other people. You need to put yourself in their shoes. You need to put yourself in the shoes of someone who doesn't have enough to eat and sees your great big field of grain. And you've got all this grain. It's not really your grain, it's God's grain. You've got to share it. And so you have to let anybody in. Now they can't take advantage of it if they bring a bag in that's stealing, but they can have something to eat to feed themselves. You got to look at things from other people's perspective. I think that people are, for the most part, generous. And if you appeal to their generous nature, they will respond. If you say to them, think about others, they're hurting. And they can see it and they can feel it, that they will come and they will do. The ultimate part of it, the last statement of the Torah portion, and it's fascinating because, maybe Torah was written in different at different times. They don't always have to flow together, but these seem to really hang together. The last one talks about an enemy of Israel, the people of Amalek. And they say that these were such horrible people. What they did is when we were going through the desert, they would attack the stragglers from behind. They would go after the weak. Amalek is and what they did is the exact opposite of what we are called upon to do. We need to protect the weak. We are not animals. Animals in nature follow a rule called survival of the fittest. And if there's a bunch of zebras and one zebra is really slow, you don't find the other zebras going back and carrying that zebra. And the lions go after the slow zebra. The slow zebra tastes just as good as a fast zebra to a lion. But human beings are different. We're the only ones that can put ourselves into other people's shoes and can see things their way. We're not animals. We're greater than animals. We're called upon in our Torah to be responsible for other people. Now, especially in America, we are taught, when there's dangerous things, it's like, so what if hang gliding is dangerous? I can do it. I can go hang gliding if I want to. Who are you to stop me? I'm not endangering anybody else. In fact, for me, hang gliding or sky diving or whatever else someone could say, well, that's what I do that makes me feel alive. And it shows I'm a real man. I'm really masculine there. Because I look death squarely in the face and I say, ha! And you find that in a lot of American cultural ideals. It's interesting, I think that's why smoking is such a big deal. Who are you going to tell me it's just my body? I'm smoking, So I read, I know it's not good for me, but hey, that's what I'm doing. It's me, I'm doing. Who are you to tell me not to? Smoking took a turn when it was shown that smoking isn't just bad for you, it's bad for everybody that's anywhere near you, and how bad secondhand smoke is. And people who said, well, look, it's just my body, suddenly their generous nature was appealed to. And they said, I don't really want to hurt the other people. So I guess if I smoke, of course I'm going to go outside. I'm not going to do it near you. And smoking was moved from, it's still in the area of, this is what I want to do, and I'm this is me and this is my pride in who I am, and I can smoke and don't stop me, versus you can be generous by not smoking. It's sort of in between those things. You ever seen one of these? You know what this is? Some people tried to make them out of yarmulkes. It wasn't that funny. But this mask right here, we initially, or a lot of us and a lot of our leaders said, you wear a mask to protect yourself. Masks don't really help you. They don't help you very much. However, wearing a mask helps you spread it. If you have the disease, it helps stop it, stopping you from spreading it to other people. We showed the mask as being something which is, if you say it's only for protecting you, then someone could say, well, I don't have to wear a mask. Who are you telling me what to do with my body? I can smoke a cigarette if I want to. I can jump out of an airplane if I want to. I can go around without wearing a mask because it's me. Who are you telling me what I should do about me? Well, that's wrong-headed to begin with. And it fostered a culture of masculine. You want to be a real man? You don't wear a mask. I think we ought to spell the word masculine with a K instead of a C. I think we ought to change it. We ought to say, look, this is a real masculine person who wears the mask. Because if we posed it instead as saying, you know, someone who wears a mask, it's not like they're protecting themselves selfishly. That's not what they're doing, because they're not really protecting themselves. People who wear masks are generous people. They're caring people. They're wearing a mask to care about you. They don't know if they're sick or not. Don't assume that they're sick just because they're wearing a mask. But they're doing it to protect you. These are the nice people. They care about you. If that was the message that we sent out, I think there'd be a lot more people wearing masks at critical times, and they would have worn them a lot earlier, and there would have been a lot of people saved. That was in the countries where COVID didn't affect them very much, even though it was there, that was the message they said. Wear a mask because you care about others, not wear a mask to protect yourself. It's not about protecting yourself. It's about being kind to others, caring about others. And just about every single country, just about every country in the world wasn't ravaged by this horrible disease that we have. We were ravaged by it, and then it's not stupidity. It has something to do with selfishness. It has something to do with a lack of leadership as to why we didn't say that message. Just be generous. Wearing a mask is a nice thing to do. Be nice. Our country needs nice. We need you to be nice. And so when leaders role model not wearing a mask in public, or they have events where there's lots of people who are next to each other and not wearing masks, it causes death. It willfully causes death because people see that role model. They see that role model and they think, oh yeah, all right, so it's a mask. I don't have to wear it. It's about me anyways. It's not about you. It's about others. People are at their core generous. And I think we need to appeal to that. We need to think about being not like Amalek. We need to care about the weaker. Um, you know, these words in our Torah, they're not just words that you go, they're not just gibberish. They are life. Torah ora, it is light. It is life. These words about being generous to others is life. If we had said from the outset, wear masks to be nice to others, that is patriotic. Be a masculine person. Your masculinity, your feminine, the word femininity doesn't sound like the word mask, so, but you know what I mean. Be a hero and wear a mask. If that was the message that came out, not for you. We're not asking for you. Don't do it for you. It doesn't even help you. Doesn't even help you. It's a pain in the butt. It makes you hot on a hot day. It makes you feel like it's hard to breathe. It makes it so you can't see one another, so you can't be close to one another. You don't like it. You're not doing it for you. You're doing it for other people. People make all kinds of sacrifices for others. People do that. If we said that early on, if we followed words of Torah, if we learned from some of the stuff that's written here, I think we'd be in a whole lot better place. But the thing is, it's not too late. I mean, it's too late for almost 180,000 people in America that died, and about 3 or 4 times as many in the rest of the world. It's not too late to start saving lives, listening to words of Torah, caring for others, looking at the world through that perspective. Tell people, if you wear a mask, you're being nice to others. I think we'll be doing God's word if we do that. With that,